now we are going to be developing our categories, right? So if you see from our database schemas right here, or our entity representation or diagram, you can see that we have the category where each vacancy will belong to a certain category, right? And then each category is going to have an ID, a title, and then an image to represent like the category image, right? So without wasting much of the time, let's start working on the category, right? So let's move into our models folder, and then let's create a file, the category model. Category model.js, right? So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to copy this user schema right here, right? So let's go inside our company model. I want to check if everything is correct. Yeah, everything is correct. So inside, I'm just going to close some of these files right here, right? And then inside our company model, I'm just going to paste this, and then I'm just going to change this to category. Then let's change also to category schema, right? So let's change this to category schema. And then for our category, what we need is we need a title. So let's just change this to title. And then let's get rid of the other fields. We don't need them, right? And then we also need an image. So an image required, this goes to true. And then our category ID unique is also equal to true, but for an image we don't need the unique attribute, right? So let's change this user ID right here to category ID. Okay, category ID right there, right? So this is our category schema right here. So now what I'm just going to do is, before we move into our category controller, right, we are just going inside our middleware, right? Inside our middleware. So inside our middleware, what we are going to do is we are going to create a middleware for uploading the category image, right? So to do that in Node.js, we use a library called Mouter, right? So let's just name it category upload.js, right? So now what I'm just going to do is npm I Mouter, and then save, because we just need to save it, right? Okay, so now that we are done with installing Mouter, now we just need to initialize Mouter, right? Right, so, and then we also need the path, right? This library is default in Node.js, right? Node.js gives us this package by default, right? So the first, we need a storage variable, right? Storage variable. So this storage variable, I'm going to say Mouter.disk storage. Since we are going to be storing these images inside our disk, right? So inside our disk, that means our laptop disk, right? So the first thing that we need is the destination, right? We need the destination, and then it's going to take in a function, a request file, and then we are going to have another, which is a callback function, right? And then we are just going to return the callback function, and then the first parameter is going to be null, and then we are just going to provide the path where our images are going to be uploaded. So uploads / categories, right? So now what I'm just going to do is, let's create that folder, right? Inside our root folder, uploads, right? We have created this uploads folder, and then inside this we need another folder again called categories. Okay, now we are done, right? So this is our destination, and then now we need a file name, right? So now another attribute is going to be the file name, right? It's just going to have a function. It takes in a request, file path, and then a callback function, right? Like we did previously. Okay, so we're going to have a file name. We don't want to use like the original name, so what I'm just going to do is, for our file name, right, we are just going to use the date when the image was uploaded, right, and then underscore, and then plus the file.original name, the original name of the image that was uploaded, right? And then once we are done with this, what we can do is, after this we need to create a filter, a file filter, right? For example, we don't want users to upload like very large images, right? So we need to filter out that. So file, and then callback. So the first thing that we need is acceptable extensions, right? So I'm just going to call it acceptable ext, right, which is going to equal to we want .jpg, .png, and then .jpeg, like this, right? And then what we are just going to do, if it's not an acceptable extension, right? So if we want to check if that includes path dot extension name file.original name, right? And then we are just going to return a callback function, right? So we are just going to return a callback function if it does not include what? This acceptable extension, right? So callback function, and then we are just inside the callback function, we are just going to display an error, right? So the error message is going to be only .jpg .png are allowed, right? Like this, right? And then after that, what we need to check, the file size, right? So if the file size, and then we need to pass an integer. So request, we are going to check it from request.headers, right? And then content length, like this, right? That's the file size. We are going to get it from request.headers content, from the content length, right? So if that file size, is more than 104.8576, that is if it's more than 10 megabytes, right? We are just going to return a callback, and then the callback with an error message, file size is too big, right? Else outside we are just going to return a callback function with null and true, right? So now we are done with the file filter, and then we have the storage. So this storage is basically pointing to where we want to store our file size inside our disk storage. When you mean our disk storage, you mean our hard drive, right? So the destination is going to be our uploads folder inside our categories folder, which is inside our uploads folder, right? And then the file name is going to be the date where the image was uploaded, plus the original file name that the user uploaded it with. And then we have the file filter. What the file filter basically what it's going to do is we are going to check if any of our images has this extension .jpg, png, and jpeg, right? If it doesn't include those extensions, right, we are just going to return this error. Only jpg, png, jpeg are allowed, right? And then we need to check the file size. So to check the file size, we just pass an integer from the request.headers, right, which is the content length, right? If that is more than 10 megabytes, we are just going to tell the user that the file is too big, right? And then now for uploading our image, what we're just going to do is let upload, right? Let upload is equal to Malta, right? Malta, and then we need to provide the storage. For our storage, we'll just provide our storage variable that we created right there, right? Storage. And then for our filter now, file filter, we'll just provide the file filter variable that we created above. And then for the file size, right, we are just going to use 104.8576, right, which is 10 megabytes, right? And then we need to export this so that we can use it inside our controller. Module.exports is equal to upload.single. Since we are just uploading a single image, we use upload.single. But if you're uploading multiple images, then you can use an upload.multiple, right? So we are done with our category upload middleware, right? So now let's go inside our category controller, and then let's create a file called category controller.js, right? Okay, so first thing first, we need to get our category module, right, which is our category module model, and then category model, right? And then we need to use the upload middleware, right? So we are just going to get it from our middleware, right, which is category upload, right? Okay, so module dot exports is equal to, right? So now let's create our category model, a category method. Create category, right? And then async request, and then response request, and then response. Okay, and then we use our upload, and then request, response, and then it takes in another function again, which takes in error as an argument. And then what we are just going to do is we are going to check if we have an error. What we are basically doing is we are just going to display a response.status code 500, and then a JSON. Our status is false, and then our message is going to be error dot message, right? So okay, I forgot the curly brackets right here. All right, now we need a title. Once a title, our title is going to come from request.body, and then also need a path. So this is going to be the path for our image. It's going to come from request.file, by request.file, which should make sure that it's not equal to undefined. It's not equal to undefined. If it's not equal to undefined, then for the request.file.path dot replace. So there are some characters that we need to replace, right? So we need to replace backslash / G, and then comma, and then /. And then if it's equal to undefined, then we'll just make sure that it's just empty, right? So I suppose with / there, okay, and then like this. All right, so now we are just going to check if the title is null, and then also if our path, if we don't have an image path, right, we are just going to return a response.status code 400, right? With please fill in the fields, right? Missing field, right? That will be the message. Okay, so now we need to create a new category, right? So now we just need to create a new category to save the category inside our MongoDB database, which is going to be equal to our new category, right? And then our title is going to come from the title, right? And then our image is going to be our path, right? It's going to come from our image path, right? And then After this, what we are just going to do is we are just going to use a try catch block, right? And then we are just going to save this data inside our MongoDB, right? And then if it's successful, we are just going to return a status code, right? 201, category saved successfully, created successfully, right? Else, what we just need to do is we just need to catch any errors, right? And then we're just going to return status code 500 if there is an error, right? So this is our first method for uploading our category to our MongoDB database, right? Now the second method that we need is for getting all the categories, right? We need to get all categories. So it's for getting all the categories, right? It's going to be an async. It's going to take in a request response, right? And then we are just going to return this, right? So let's use a try catch block, right? Let's get all the categories, right? So to get all the categories, we'll just use await category.find, right? Category.find, right? The find method, we use the find method to get all the categories, right? And then response.status code 200, right? Response.status 200, and then we don't need this message here, right? We don't need this message here. We'll just pass in the categories inside, right? With our response right there, right? And then if there is an error, we can catch it using a catch. So if there's an error, now we are just going to return a response status code 500, right? With the error message, right? Okay, right. So now that's basically it for the category, but we need another method, right? So let me paste this method right here, and then I'm just going to call it delete category. So forgot a semicolon, delete category, right? Find category. Find by ID and delete, right? And then ID is equals to request.parameters.id, right? And then we then use this ID to delete, right? And then once that is deleted, we just need to display a message. So this message is going to be category deleted successfully. Okay, so now what we are just going to do is let's go and inside our routes folder, let's just copy this user route right there. Copy the user route, and then let's create the category route.js, right? And let me paste it here, and then it's going to be category controller. Category controller. And then category controller, and then here what we are just going to do here is So we're just going to use this post method here. So post method, if you remember when I talked about the post method, when we are creating items or when we are creating new items in our database, so it's going to be category controller dot create category, right? And then we are also going to use the get, right, for getting all the categories, right? So it's going to be category controller dot get all categories, right? And then we are just going to use the router dot delete method dot delete to delete our item from the database. So we'll provide a forward slash and then semicolon ID. So this represents a parameter. Then it's going to be category controller dot delete category. Okay, so now what we can simply do is let's go inside our server.js, right? Inside our server.js, we are just going to say app.use /API /categories, right? And then let's just import our category route. All right. Category route. Okay, now here we go. So let's run npm start, right? Okay, so now let's test our API using So now let's just test our API using let's just test our API, right? So it's let me just copy this right here, copy, and then first of all it's supposed to be categories. Let's try our get method. So you can see, yeah, we have an empty, we haven't created any category yet. The get method is working. So let's just try our post method, right? So in post main, just go to body, right? And then form data here. And then title, our title, let's just go check. And then let's change this from text to file. And then here I'm just going to call it image, and then we need to select an image from our local machine, right? So I'm just going to, and then let's try to send it. So it's saying that no such file open uploads categories. Okay, so let's go inside our categories. So I made a typo here. It's supposed to be uploads, right? Uploads. Inside these uploads we have our categories, right? So if you make a typo, you will get similar errors. So let's try again. So I think it's because our server broke down. So let's run it again. All right. Now let's try to send it. Category created successfully. You can see now we have uploaded our category successfully. So if I try to get this category, you can see now we are getting the category with the title, image, and then with category ID right there. Category ID, right? And then let's try to see if the delete function is working. So use delete function /. Then let's paste in the ID, right? Category deleted. You can see now it's deleted successfully. Now you can see, okay. Now you can see that, yeah, we don't have anything. So let's just post it. Yes, now. Okay. So perfect. Our API is working perfectly. So next section, let's work on the vacancies.